Hello, my name is Jackson George, and I'm here in the first edition of LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight. The Spotlight is a unique business recognition program designed to create awareness about the diversity of local businesses in our communities. I'm here today with the founder and CEO of Snyder Healthcare, Home Healthcare.
Snyder Healthcare Systems.
Snyder Healthcare System. Clarence, welcome to LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
So, this program is a LIBA, you are a staunch member of LIBA, a founding member of LIBA, and you believe in our mission and our vision. But we just got some questions to ask you. The first question we have, how many years have you been in business?
I think myself when I say that. I've been in business for 18 years now. Snyder Healthcare Systems, the concept was developed, I would say about 20 years ago.
Okay.
In my one-bedroom apartment in West St. Paul. And it just seems like forever.
And that's how long we've been knowing each other, I guess.
And that's about how long we used to do labor cry together.
Exactly.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a concept I had developed in my one-bedroom apartment at the time, and I put it on paper, developed my business plan, and got my father involved, and like I said, the rest is history.
Okay. And so the next thing is, what is your background? I mean, tell me about your background and why healthcare.
So I like to think I have a diverse background. Because just as a mantra, as a person, professionally, I like to be well-rounded.
Okay.
But just by way of how I got here, I'm a product of Cathedral Catholic High School in Liberia, West Africa. I came over to the States as a teenager, right after high school, and went to, I did my undergraduate graduate studies at the University of St. Thomas. I did a graduate program at the University of Minnesota as well. Okay. Major in business and accounting. I've served in, I actually worked for one major private firm in the Twin Cities. And they are the ones that I got my professional experience, values, morals, ethics on business. And those are things that I learned back then, and I continue to use them every day.
So if you were to look at your successes, what would be one of the biggest successes you've made
My successes are not business oriented. I think my greatest success, I have multiple successes I like to thank. And I thank God for those privileges. My greatest success is just my family, my wife and children. I'm married to an amazing woman. I got 3 outstanding kids and 2 amazing grandkids. So it's always a privilege to get up every morning knowing that I have that. The rest of it is history. Okay. Those are my values. Those are my whys. Those are the things that push me to want to be a better person, a better father, a better man, and a better businessman.
So in the Liberian community, you have one of the largest businesses. Sometimes people don't see a successful person to have challenges. If you were to look back or into your current business dealing, what would be your biggest challenge in the business world?
Well, in the business world, I'll go back because you mentioned the community. One of the things I hear quite frequently in our community is that when we're talking, someone who, unlike you, who've known me from way ever and watch our organization grow, they will say, "Man, you're lucky. You have this big business. You guys are doing great. All these things." And I've gotten tired with that, with responding and talking. I just smile and say, "Thank you, thank God, give God glory." Because truth be told, God first. And then secondly, it's the work that you put into it, the commitment, the perseverance, and knowing what you want, and actually working it. because there are good days, there are bad days.
Correct.
We just pray to God that you have more good days than bad days, and the struggle continue. You know, and the advice I give people typically is that if you want, again, in our community, everybody wants to do business.
Correct.
What does that mean? They sit down and ask it. Sometimes they typically don't really understand and appreciate what it means by doing business.
Yeah.
You know, the old lady down one side selling, you know, pepper down the street, they say I'm doing business. That's the end of it there.
Correct.
You know, there is no feasibility study to that. There is no data collection. There is no analysis. There's just nothing.
Right.
And sometimes and it works. It works. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to get into the professional world and be a business owner or operate within a business sphere, you have to have some acumen to whatever discipline that you are practicing. And that's some of the challenges I think I will keep in our communities. People face some people face in our communities. For me, my greatest challenges really have been just most recently over the last couple of years, especially since COVID, has been staffing.
Okay.
We face that problem, and it is unfortunate, but I will say we are not the only one.
That's a lot.
You know, it's all over, and it transcends our spheres. It transcends our business. You know, it's not only in healthcare. It's in real estate. It's in marketing. It's in construction. It's everywhere. And the reason behind that, we can all speculate in different reasons. I have my own views as to why some of these things are happening, but that's the biggest challenge I think most employers face.
So why do you think it's happening?
Well, I think that I tell my 9-year-old, maybe because when he asked Daddy, why you work so much? You seem to work a lot, and sometimes you sleep at work and you come back and then you just take a shower and you go back to work. And I tell him, well, this big spaceship came along with COVID. It dropped COVID. It took half of the workforce.
Correct.
So that's what happened.
Correct.
And also, but that's the version, that's the kid version to your answer. And the more articulate response, and from my perspective, I think the proliferation of things like Uber Eats, the different flexibility with Amazon, employment with the change in the transportation system and all these different things, enable people to be self-employed in ways that they never dreamed of. Correct. Because they have a solid, professional, concrete back office, and they can rely on that. Even if they have no business acumen, correct, they can rely on that and do well.
Technology has improved.
Yeah, the technological advancement transcends all spectrum of fields. So not just healthcare, not just construction, not just manufacturing. It's all over. Even the service industry. Now most people work in the service industry and analytics industry want to stay home, stay in their pajamas, stay on the computer, and work. Yeah.
So if you're watching us, we are on. This is our first edition of LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight. This is a Liberian Business Association production. Here we want to say thank you to KMTV. You know, as a successful business, I always say most Liberians are business people. We're traders, we're not entrepreneurs, right? But you have come, knowing you for 20 years and see your business grow and your family. What inspires you to get up in the morning and keep going?
My family. I think that, you know, I love my privacy. I love my home. My home is my sanctuary. So being with my wife and my children are the most important things in my life. And I try to do everything that I can to protect that. I do everything that I can to make sure that I have the opportunity to go back home to my wife and my kids every evening and spend that quality time with them. So in so doing, there are lots of other pieces that have to, dots that have to be connected. You know, how do you conduct business? How do you conduct yourself as an individual?
Correct.
How do you carry yourself as a professional? How do you interact within the, you know, I'm an immigrant. I've been in America 30 years, but I'm still, you know, I'm a Liberian. I carry Liberia in my heart, in my mind, every single day. And so, how do you conduct yourself in your community? How do you give back to the community? And so, all of those things are tied to me being able to come home every day and spend that quality time with the people in the place that means the most in my life.
Just talking as an immigrant, we are all immigrants in the United States. We could be citizens, but we are still immigrants. In our hearts, we still are Liberians and we're still Africans. And so how do you, as an immigrant doing business in the United States, how do you feel?
I love it. I love it. It's an honor. It's definitely a privilege. Now, if you take me, for example, I came to the States as a teenager. I never had the opportunity to work in Liberia. I never had the opportunity to work with Liberian professionals. I came to the States and I went straight to college, and I went to work for my father, who owned his own company. I did that straight through college, and right after, not even after undergrad, I got recruited actually when I was in college, my senior year, by the company I mentioned earlier, to work. And all of my morals and values that I learned in the professional world, all the skills I learned in the professional world, were all from here.
Okay.
And a lot of us came here because of the Civil War, not because our parents had so much money and things like that. No, we blessed. And I thank God I've been able to take advantage of that opportunity and impact not only my life and my future, but the lives of my family and family members and friends, and whatever 1 or 2 cents I can put in other people or invest in other people, I do the best I can too when I can.
We do have social corporate responsibility. You have donated, you've been good to the community, you donated a van to the Liberian community a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
We have a QuickBooks program that you came. We got a grant from the city of Brooklyn Park that would purchase 10 computers, and we needed 15, and you donated $3,000. What is it when you give back? I mean, tell us about giving back.
Well,
to the community that you come from.
So, one quick correction, I didn't give $3,000. The company donated $3,000.
Oh, the company, sorry. That's a good one. Yes.
But it's a privilege. I always say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And me, you, anybody else, with no exception. Just because you have 1 loaf of bread and you don't have 50 loaves of bread, doesn't mean you can't cut a little piece of that and give it to your fellow man, to give it to your brother. We grew up we found ourselves as teenagers, you and I as teenagers, and all the other adults, our age group of teenagers, in a situation where, I think our youth were kind of, in a sense, stolen from us, because we grew up in those times where the outbreak of the Liberian Civil War, and we saw hard time, we saw difficulties, we saw challenges, and so coming over here has been a privilege. So whatever opportunity I have, whatever time and things I can give back, whenever I can give back to my community, just to humanity as a whole, because it's the goodwill of other human beings, not necessarily Liberians that got me sitting here today in the position that I'm in. As far as giving, as far as fiscal donation, contribution involving things, the funny thing was, back when I donated that bus, I don't know whether you remember, the oil line, it was the oil line, right? Mm-hmm. They had come over and had asked me, they were looking for donation because they're trying to develop their programs. Mm-hmm. And as we talked, I said, I have a bus here. It's a pretty big bus, but we're going to use it for one of our day programs. We're not going to do it anymore just because of the weather and the solar. The bus is too big. You guys can have the bus. Mm. So then they said, oh, wow, it's amazing. I think about $10,000 for the bus at the time. And then there was an election coming, so they said, well, you should run oil on board. Yeah. I said, with all this donation you've made, I said, no. I tell you what, I'm not into politics. I'm not into, all being all over the place. But I tell you what, I will do it because it's my community and I want to give back. But I will do it under one condition. And they didn't like that. I said the condition I will do, under which I will do this is you do not tell the community that I donated the bus. Because I didn't want
to use
my donation of the bus
to be
being used as the catalyst for being elected on the board. Because one has nothing to do with the other. And our people make that mistake all the time. And so, so after the election, I think you remember, I didn't win. And then, so they put it out there that I had donated the bus, and I got all this bunch of calls from the community. People called, why didn't you say that?
That shouldn't be the reason.
It shouldn't be the reason for you to vote for me.
Exactly.
I put my credentials out there, which was a hard thing for me to do because I'm a very private person, like I said earlier. And you guys had the opportunity to elect me, and you didn't, and that was okay with me. I was getting in there more to help, not because I wanted to tell you. You know, so the same thing applies to when I gave when my company donated the $3,000. You know. The LIBA is a really, I don't know whether I'm part of the group too, but I don't know whether some of us in the leadership grasp the value of LIBA and the opportunity it provides to younger entrepreneurs in our community. When I started my company back in 2005, there were the SBA, there were a bunch of different organizations out in the St. Paul, in Minnesota, in the metro area. The challenge, it had one challenge though, and I think sometimes we forget it. The challenge is there were parts of me as a person, as an immigrant, that didn't connect. There was a disconnect, even though I had the professional acumens from the U.S. There were quite a few missing pieces, dots that weren't compatible. So, you know, versus the guys now, being able to contribute so that they can have that opportunity to have the environment for them to, you know, learn and grow their businesses. You know, it's an honor for me to have done that, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud about. I'm really excited whenever I think about LIBA and the opportunity to come to serve and to help and to give my 1 or 2 cents into it.
And we are grateful again. You're watching LIBA's Diaspora Business Spotlight. If you were to say something inspiring to young immigrant wanting to do business in the diaspora, what would you tell them? What encouragement can you give to young immigrants to do business?
One of the things I do with work is that I'm an avid student of Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So and one of those habits is begin with the end in mind. So I would respond to that by beginning with the end in mind. And the end is learning. And going back, I would say it goes back from the beginning. We're in school, go to school, learn. You come to America, it's an opportunity, yeah, but you have to take advantage of it. It's not just sitting on trees where you can pull it. You have to go to school, you have to get an education. All of these opportunities here, you know, they're here because someone went to school, someone learned. And it always saddens me when I hear immigrant kids shooting up each other or going to jail for nonsense, you know. For the adults, when you are involved when you want to do business, you know, there are 2 things. You got to really understand what that means. I do free consulting. I used to do it. I used to charge, and then people want you to donate your kidney because you charged and they took your money. So now I do it free, and I do it on my term when I can. When I have the opportunity to do it, I have no problem doing it. But a lot of the time people come and tell me, first things I want to do business. My first question is, what kind of business you want to do?
Correct.
First is a nonprofit. Nonprofit, and I'm looking at this individual, and I'm thinking, and then we've already talked, and you know, I know where economically where they stand, socially where they stand. No, you can't.
You can't.
You want to do business, you want to help the community, you want to help the society, go volunteer. That's the most effective way of your time.
Correct.
As a young man, most of them. Don't go start a little non-profit organization taking tax-free dollars and paying yourself and thinking it's my company. No, it's not. The concept of non-profit is that the non-profit is for the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the federal government created a system so that individuals who are there at reached certain stages in their professional and personal lives can help the society and help the community. So I tell people, don't understand what you're doing, what it entails, and work towards where you want to go. But learn. Whatever field, whatever discipline you're going to get involved in, whatever sphere you're going to play in, learn it. Be everlasting student.
My dad always say, whatever you have to do, do it well. Do it more than it should be done.
Yeah.
Learn everything you can learn.
Yeah.
Let's transition a little into our homeland. Many of us, we're hoping to go home and do something. Liberia. In our hearts, we want to go home and transform the country. Every resource that we have, we want to put it in Liberia to make sure that Liberia is one of the best countries on earth. We understand that you are carrying on a project in Liberia. Tell us about your project.
About one of the things my wife and I discussed was that we have interest in both healthcare and real estate. And way back when we started going out and we got married, and we decided since I had already started Snyder Healthcare Systems and things were going in the right direction, we should continue to expand that in that sphere and hold up on our real estate ambition, aspiration. And we did that. And we thank God for the opportunity to be able to be where we are because we did that. And we've gotten to the stage where, we're middle-aged. I got this boyish look sometimes, especially when I shave, but okay, a bit middle-aged. So, but we decided to get involved in real estate. So we formed a few years back Mac Global, the Mac Global Group operates in the U.S. as well as Liberia and Ghana, and we just developing the pieces between Ghana and Liberia right now. But we have a print there, and we definitely have a print over here. So for Liberia, we are, in addition to the real estate portion of what we're doing, real estate investment portion of what we're doing, some of our partners, very good friends of ours, got together and decided to build a hospital. That's the short version of the story. And we have, that's a project that has been in the making for the last, I would say, 5 years now. There's some challenges. And it's one thing we sold to the community, to the country, was that this is not a project that we will do the heavy lifting, but this is a project where that has three parts. We are there, we will provide financing to manage the expertise, getting the hospital up there, because we're all into healthcare. I'm a healthcare administrator. We have doctors and nurses on our team as well. But then we also, the second part is the community that we're going to be in. We are going to be in. That's in Curiousburg, but certainly the entire metro population of Railway. And then the third phase was, collaboration with the government. The government's role, the way we saw it was to remove all the red tape. The community's role was to make sure that, we're there, we're not having people do anything for free, people work for free and get paid. But make sure that people don't steal the things that get there. And then we will, on this side, work on the professional part of things and the resources to make sure it comes to fruition. We've done a pretty good job, I think, on our end. Just for one reason or another, there still seem to be glitches within that process amongst the pod. And that have caused some delay in that endeavor. So we are, both our partners and us, are working on our individual projects in Liberia. We're working with the Mac Global Foundation group. They're working on something else, but we do have the hospital project. That's kind of one of our signature things, So until we can really put the pieces together between the three parts, and we're kind of at at a much slower pace than I have anticipated.
Mm. And so, what kind of a healthcare? I mean, you're talking about hospital. What was was it a specialty hospital? Was it intended for a specialty? What's the capacity that you anticipated?
It was the original concept was a 503-bed hospital. At the time, it was supposed to be the largest hospital in the country, and we were projecting an $8.9 million project, and with that project, it's not like we had $8.9 million in our pockets to just hit it, but we have and still do have the connections, the network to make sure for that to come to fruition, and some of which we already have, some of which have already come to fruition. So we're able to acquire the land out there. We have 125 acres of land. We built a 7,000 square foot hospital annex, which we currently use for our mission trips for training and education, and those kinds of things. So
it is an ongoing project.
So it's an ongoing project. But the main structure itself has not really started for many reasons that we keep all night discussing. But we're getting there.
So what is it like doing business in Liberia?
It has its challenges. I think it's not like doing business in America. I started this process in 2016 when we went for vacation, and very quickly I got to realize that for some people, ethics, morals, values don't mean anything. Those are not words that exist. And for others, it does. So it's kind of difficult for people on both opposite ends of that spectrum to work together and come up to a common goal. And so that has been some of those challenges. I think that the people, and I work with the people most of the time, there are some challenges there. We're both from Liberia.
Yeah.
We know that, there's a lot to be done. There are lots to be said, and it is just my hope and prayer that as a country, as a people, we get there. It's going to take one day at a time. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take values. It's going to take morals. It's going to take ethics. It's going to take responsibility. It's going to take hard work. And those are some of the arguments that I think at times is challenging to find especially amongst the young people. And it aches me. Every time I talk about Liberia, I get kind of emotional because I remember the Liberia you and I grew up in even pre-1980.
Correct.
It's completely different from the Liberia, we currently have. The Liberia we grew up in from 1980 to 1990 is definitely different from the Liberia here. And so it pains me. I remember, even up to now, every time I'm in a gathering or anywhere, I hear the national anthem, I get tears in my eyes. Not because I'm sad for the country, but because I carry Liberia in my heart. I carry my country in my spirit. It's part of me. No matter where I go in this world, no matter what I accomplish in this world, that is always home. You can't take it.
You remember when we were growing up at 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
We knew in our heads that the flags were coming down.
And you can't walk.
And you can't walk. We had to stop.
You can't walk.
And that was patriotism. And that was love for country.
That was love for country.
It was being instilled into us.
Yeah.
And we took a mission trip to Liberia.
Yeah.
We went to Bami. We donated 9 computers. And we're hoping that we're going to use that hospital as a means.
Oh, yeah, you remember that. I was hoping that, really what I was hoping to accomplish from there, I mean, we made the donations. It was Snyder Healthcare and what's his name company? Remy. Yeah, so, Remy. So we made a donation, and what I was hoping to get from there, really, in addition to just plainly donating, was to help them collect data and create a system. And I did build some of the problems that we were having was electronic record capabilities.
Yeah.
And I did create not a software, but a spreadsheet for them, because I didn't think they needed software to do that at the time. They weren't much, And I created a spreadsheet that will collect data, and we could use that for data mining. Not just us, the entire country could use that for data mining.
Yeah.
But it didn't come to fruition as I had hoped.
One of the things that bothers me when I'm in Liberia, if somebody was sick and they came from Grand Gdale, Nimba, or Maryland and went to JFK, how will you know what happened to them? They got to start all over again.
Yeah.
And so that was the idea, to use Birmingham Hospital as a pilot project to be able to collect data, and then we're going to use iPads.
You remember the whole plan, yes.
But it did not work. But like I said, we'll continue to keep trying. So let's, again, you're watching LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight. This is a new LIBA TV program in partnership with KMTV. We are here with Mr. Clarence Twere, the founder of Snyder Healthcare Systems. So, Mr. Twere, in conclusion, when you are working, what is your favorite thing you do?
You know, when I worked at the company that recruited me during my undergrad, that's the only company I said that I worked for, and that's where I built all my professional acumen. And it's amazing because I will sit in front of a computer for 4 or 5 hours, then take a 30 minutes break, and then go back and sit for another 3, 4, 5 hours before clocking out, going home. And I'll just look at the spreadsheets. I'm in finance, so I look at numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I love numbers. They talk to me. They say so many things. You look at 0 to 9, you think that's 0 to 9. But, we who deal with numbers and do all that stuff, they tell so many different stories based on their formations and frequency. And after I left, and I started Snyder Healthcare Systems. It's funny because now you can't get me to sit in front of my computer for more than 2 hours. I can't.
Okay.
I love working, but I'll do an hour or two, and then I'll just get up and go take a walk in the company's parking lot. We Benjamin this building. They have a pretty huge parking lot. So I just walk around there and just to get fresh air. And I love that opportunity to do that.
I think I got ADHD. I can't sit out too long.
Yeah,
I got to do something.
You got to do something. You got to keep moving.
So Clarence, in Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians back home. We have a lot of businesses back home. We have a lot of businesses in the diaspora. How do we bridge the gap? I mean, LIBA has been pushing, bridging the gap, getting businesses to come to do business the way we do business in the United States. We know sometimes even for the U.S. Embassy to issue visas to Liberian businesses to travel to the States. We've been working on that. We've signed an MOU with LIBA Liberia. If you were to put your hand on the thing that would bring us to bridge this gap between Liberian entrepreneurs on the ground in the homeland and Liberian entrepreneurs in the diaspora, how can we create the partnership to bring economic development? You know how much remittances we've sent to Liberia. I'm of the conviction that we in the diaspora have not transformed our remittances into economic development. What can we do? I mean, I don't know if anybody has a silver bullet to make it work, but what can we do to bring this transformation, to do bigger things? It's time for us to stop to open a little shop in Liberia from the diaspora. How can we come together now to begin building corporations in Liberia?
I'll give the easiest answer first. The easiest answer to that is that the tripod has to work.
Correct.
The tripod includes the government, the tripod includes the citizens, and the tripod includes the diaspora. If we all work together as a unit, because really no one person in that country loves that country more than the other. I who get emotional when I talk about Liberia, I talk about my motherland that I love so much. I don't love it more than you. I don't love it more than the kid selling down one side. We all love that country equally. If we all understand that and appreciate and value that, I think we will all work together for the common good, which is the betterment of our country. That's the easiest answer to it. The work is the difficult part. Now, the work part of it is that on this end, we tend to pick too many things that we've done in the past, like the way things work in Liberia. The believe it or not, whether they people admit it or not, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who don't have the professional acumen, professional expertise that some of us have acquired here, they look up to us, and we have to look up. So they look up to us for that, and whether they admit it or not, we ourselves have to look up to them for their local expertise, what's on the ground, right? In order to operate there has to be a foundation. I can't do it, you can't do it. The government has to create that foundation, that platform for all of us to work on. And when we work on that and assume that we are doing this with the greatest intention, with the best of intention, for the ultimate goal of our mama Liberia, we will go a long way as a country, as a people.
You know, I always say that, I think we'll conclude with this. I always say that respect is our fundamental problem. And most of the time when the Liberians say respect, they think it's an insult. Well, you insult my and you disrespect me by that. The way I see for our country to grow, and you can have your take on this, if I'm a minister of health, and there's no medication at GFK, or GFK is not functioning well, I'm disrespecting the people. If I'm a public work minister, and the roads are not built and other stuff, and I'm not giving good reason for why the roads are not built, I'm disrespecting the people. If I took something from the ministry, if I embezzle, I'm not doing it to just the people in the ministry. I'm doing it to the lady selling the market. I'm doing it to the population. If I drove government vehicle and damage it, I'm damaging us. So I'm disrespecting whenever we abuse power or we abuse resources or we abuse, you're not only doing it to just a few people, you're doing it to the entire country. So to me, that's disrespect. And until we can start respecting each other, where when I know this $10 were meant for us to buy a cup, and I bought the cup, because I respect the fact that we need to buy a cup. We all need a drinking cup. Not buying 5 cups when we have 10 people and 5 people drinking from the cup. That's disrespect to the other 5. So that's how I view Liberia. If we can start respecting each other, if we can start doing that, I think our country will grow. What's your take on that aspect of respect?
I think that, and that's why I stay in the private sector, because a public servant, if you're a public servant, whether it's government or it's nonprofit, you work for the public. It's embedded in the name, public servant. You're a servant to the public, and because I don't work in government, I've never worked in the public sector. That's the extent of what I know about that. But in the private sector, which I've spent all of my career, if any of those things you mentioned were done, I'm big on ethics, morals, values, and there has to be consequences. There has to be repercussions for those kinds of things, and that's why a system, and that's why I love working in the U.S. because I came into a system. I learned in that system, and I operate in that system, and that system works. So I can't fully compare that to Liberia because I didn't work as a professional in that system. Now I have worked with and interacted with some. In this stage of my life, with individuals or some individuals who work on that side, and there's been some challenges in some of those areas, and or more disagreement in those areas. So I think that when we all understand that we all have one thing in common, and respect the fact that we love and cherish it and want it to grow and want it to progress, then I think that respect will come. But growing up, I've always been told respect is earned.
Yeah.
And that's how I have operated on my personal in my personal life and more as a professional. I truly believe in leadership by example. So what I do is an example of what I hope to be reflected in every sphere that in which I operate.
Okay. So in conclusion, what is the most interesting fact about your company that most people don't know?
I say this with pride all the time, and I say I'm blessed because every single second of every day and every breath I take, I positively contribute to the life and existence of another human being or human beings. And that's because of the privilege I've been given and what I have done with it to build Snyder healthcare systems, to take care of people, to provide, to give back to my community, to give back to society, to give back to mankind. And so I always use that as the uniqueness of it. Now other people have obviously do that in their work, but just for me as an individual, as a person, that's the shining star I see, and that is my true north. Because I didn't just get here by accident. I got here because God first, and secondly, the gratuity of other human beings to care for me as an individual in another life. So, again, I'll finish with this: much is given, much is expected, and give what you can give. Don't try to give or promise what you can't, because you only be leaving disappointment not just for yourself, but for the receiving and on that spectrum.
Well, Mr. Twitter, thank you for coming to this LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight. We've been watching, having a dialogue with the CEO of Snyder Home Healthcare Services System. Snyder Home Care System.
Snyder
Healthcare System. And so you've been watching that. Again, this is a LIBA production. We're established the aid council and we've been dialoguing with Clarence Twed, the CEO of Snyder Home Healthcare System.
Snyder Healthcare System.
Let's do it over.
Okay. This brings us to the conclusion of LIBA Diaspora Business Spotlight. We've been dialoguing with Mr. Twer from the Snyder Healthcare Systems in St. Paul, Minnesota. Again, this is a LIBA production.